Haliey Welch has the most interesting and complicated timeline of any influencer I've ever met. Earlier this year, around summer, she got famous off of doing a very stupid and inappropriate meme, and then she went on to make one of the most popular podcasts in the world. And no, I'm not joking about that, by the way. Her podcast was in the top 10 podcasts in the entire world, by the way. She went on to make tons and tons of money from Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and her podcast, and doing guest appearances, merchandise, and basically capitalizing off her 15 minutes of fame. And not only that, but she also tried to sue the person that got her famous. She tried to sue this street interviewer that basically made her entire career because he posted it and he basically just didn't credit her, I guess. Well, what do you think Haliey Welch's next step would be? Do you think she would maybe start a YouTube channel, maybe get on TikTok, or maybe separate herself from the way she got famous? I mean, her podcast name is Hawk Tuah, so I don't think she plans on separating herself from it.
No, really, I even learned that you can't bring a box cutter on a plane. So we'll be talking about all...
Actually, I don't really think she plans on doing anything because she's getting sued because of a crypto scam. But you know what, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so maybe I should go back a bit and discuss on how we got here. Haliey Welch first rose to fame because of a street interviewer who interviewed her and asked, "What is your technique in bed that makes a man go crazy?" And thus the viral meme was born. And honestly, the entire timeline of her fame is insane. This woman has been on talk shows, made appearances, done a podcast, even has a dating app that is completely driven by AI, by the way. Hell, she's even made appearances at baseball games. And this has actually made a lot of people raise their eyebrows and questioning if this was really a random encounter and if Haliey is actually just an industry plant. And speaking of her podcast is sponsored and made by Better, a betting company that is partially owned by Jake Paul and Logan Paul. And Jake Paul has actually made an appearance on her podcast, and Haliey Welch has actually showed up to his boxing events. So it's very clear that he's very much involved in her business, which will become relevant later. However, even with Jake Paul's help and his company attached to her name, her podcast was slowly declining in views. Her first episode actually did really well. However, the first episode is actually infamous and very, for lack of a better word, cringy.
Yeah, say it. All right, all together. Hawk Tuah.
She tries very hard to separate herself from the meme that got her famous, but in the first episode, that's actually all they talk about. I swear to God, you cannot convince me that 90% of this podcast audience isn't just people who are just watching for the hate comments. This is literally something no one asked for. But you know what? I digress. She's trying to capitalize off of her 15 minutes of fame, and you know what? I can't even be mad at it. I respect the game. Now, I'm not gonna lie, having a podcast isn't a crime, but there are some podcasts that shouldn't exist. Fresh and fit. But you know, now being a cringy podcast isn't necessarily problematic, and if Haliey kept doing her podcast, she probably wouldn't be in any hot water. But no, what we're going to talk about is her crypto scandal. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about her AI dating application. And yes, it is completely powered by AI, and it's very weird. The app is called Pooky, and if you look at the reviews on the App Store, I am so convinced that these are either made by AI too. and this AI is so funny because it tries so hard to mimic the way Haliey speaks. But getting back into her crypto scandal, which is the main topic of today's video, Haliey Welch has self-admitted that she knows nothing about crypto and that this is her first crypto scandal, or venture should I say. Now, I am by no means no expert on cryptocurrency. I barely know anything about it, but I do know that there are certain things that are very much unethical. I know the stock market, I know how to invest, so I know things are very much unethical to do and very sketchy. And I wanted to note that an important thing Haliey said is that she had someone build the crypto coin for her because she knows nothing about it. Red flag number one. Okay, that already tells me that Haliey is not the mastermind behind this, and I think that should be pretty obvious. I mean, Haliey didn't even know you couldn't bring a Swiss Army knife into an airport, so I don't think she's going to mastermind.
No, really, I even learned that you can't bring a box cutter on a plane.
And I think she just has a bunch of yes men behind her, and they just told her, hey, you can make $2 million if you just sign here, and she was like, oh, okay. And while I don't know much about crypto, I do know that this is basically just a typical rug pull. And as you can see here, there were many wallets that owned from 43% to flat out 10% of the shareholds in this crypto. And if you don't know what that means, it means about 8 wallets held about 98% of this entire coin base. And when it all dumped, they pulled out and it got all the money, meaning that anyone who invested it lost all their money, while the people who pulled out in time got the money instead. Now, I'm sorry if I'm not explaining that correctly. Like I said, I don't really know much about crypto, so I hope I did a good enough job. But I do know that this is very much fraud. Now, with that being said, I don't know much about crypto, but from what I know about rug pulls, they sound like just fraud and illegal scamming. I mean, just look at the stats and look at these numbers. People lost millions of dollars because of this. And Haliey actually did end up making a response, and it is the most AI generated PR response ever. However, when that didn't go well, Haliey Welch actually went to Twitter and got into a Twitter space to talk about it. And this led to CoffeeZilla getting in and actually addressing the entire thing. However, Haliey got very hostile and eventually muted him. And to me, this just really ended her career. I mean, she really just did a very scummy and underhanded thing, so if this doesn't bury her career, I don't know what will. And it's the fact that she's actually getting sued right now, so I don't know, maybe this won't be the end of her. Maybe we'll see more of the Hawk Tuah Girl around the new year. Anyway, tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think she went too far? Do you guys think that she didn't really know anything about this? So yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I'm out. Peace.